No. Hang on. Hold up a minute. You're sitting here telling me that Metallica had a second S&M album come out, and I didn't know about it. And it's been out since 2020. No one told me about it. I need a minute. I mean, you'd figure. Like, it's one of my, okay. Seriously, this is, Metallica's S&M album is one of the greatest albums ever, right? It's one of the greatest albums ever. I had no idea, no earthly clue that they actually came out with another one. And here it is. It's like the entire album's on YouTube right here. They got like an Unforgiven 3. They came back with Master of Puppets. Okay, so like the Master of Puppets, for those of you who watch Stranger Things Season 4, like Gen Z, for those of you Gen Zers who watched Stranger Things Season 4 and heard Master of Puppets for the very first time in your entire life and were like, whoa, this is awesome. Okay, so Master of Puppets on the first S&M album where they team up with San Francisco Symphony Orchestra is my favorite track. And I listen to it on repeat. All right, that's how good it is. I have no idea. Honestly, if YouTube wasn't such a pain in my ass about everything, and I mean everything, I can't even play a small clip from a TV show without them going, oh well, all your ad revenue are belong to them. I would play a small smidgen right here just to get a taste of it. Of the new one. Is it as good, John? Is it as good as the first one? Please, God, say yes. You didn't ask. I'm blown away right now, if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys. I'm excited. I know what I'm gonna do after the stream. I'm gonna spend time listening to S&M 2. No one told me either. I know, no one, how was this not, look, it was one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. Like, I got it, like, the day it came out, the first one. The day it came out, I was a young Brandon. And I was like, I've got to have this, Mom. Mom, can you get it for me at Walmart when you go? Can you get it? She did. She came home, and I listened to that thing for hours. I'm not even a metalhead. If that really goes to show you how good that album was, I'm not even a metalhead. It's just great. I keep reading about all the heat waves down there at 4850 cloudy here right now. It was like 107 yesterday. I took Remy out, my golden retriever, to go play fetch. And I was like, we're going to go to a nice little shady spot next to my house. And we're going to play fetch in a little field. And it felt like I was standing right next to a very hot blow dryer. I mean, that's it. It was that bad. I've been Metallica star-braided since I was 18. I could have told you. I didn't ask. I didn't know to ask. Red's like, not my cup of tea. Been listening since 13 years old. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Red's just a very anti-Metallica, I guess. London Symphony Orchestra and Zappa. I have no doubt that that's actually pretty good. I'm just not in it. Yeah. I'm not a metalhead either, though. But I mean, like, it was such a good album that, like, Now, given I am a Metallica fan. I'm a Metallica fan, despite the fact that I'm not a metalhead. You know? Because I think Metallica kind of meets... It's a good... I don't know. There's something about Metallica where it can live in somebody... Like somebody's rotation of music, even if they're not a metalhead. There's something about them. They kind of bridge a gap. Okay, I'm 43, so you'll definitely got some years on me. Missed Monsters of Rock in Denver in the 90s. I should have gone. Needed my job, though. I watched that on YouTube. I didn't get on board until around the Load album. See, I came in on Reload. That's when I came in. And then from there, from Reload, I was like, why is everyone going nuts about the Black Album? So I bought the Black Album, and it changed my life. The Black Album. It's still, to this day, I consider the Black Album probably one of the greatest pieces of music. Like all of it. Like one of the greatest albums ever to be created by man. You're not a metalhead and not a metalhead, but you liked it, and maybe I missed something truly great. Perhaps I'll give it a... Here's what I would do. Here's what I would do if I were you, Red. I would start with the Black Album. Just go get Metallica's Black Album, okay, and listen to that, and I think that'll give you the best selection of Metallica you could possibly ask for. And I mean, there's not one bad song on that album. One of the all-time greats. And then from there, maybe hit Load or Reload. But at some point in time in your journey, once you've actually gotten like a full sample of Metallica, go listen to the first S&M album. Honestly, I mean, Metallica gets a lot of grief from actual metalheads, but there's no denying that Metallica actually has done something many rock stars can't. Zappa's response to The Who's Tommy and the Wall was a rock opera called Billy the Mountain, and it was hilarious. Zappa's pretty cool. Did y'all ever see that video he did about like working hard on tour and like how it's not just all fun and games, like it's a business? It was pretty solid. Go, I'll link it in the chat. It was like Frank Zappa. Animated. It was like animated interview. Here it is. A business lesson by, yeah, here it is. This is actually one of the more, it's actually pretty cool. Hang on. Let me copy the link and put it in the chat. There. Check that out whenever you get the chance. It's actually pretty cool. It's very informative, and I love his work ethic. I love his work ethic. What are we talking about, everybody? Apparently Metallica had an S&M 2, and I never knew it. I just learned that literally at the beginning of stream, and now my mind is blown. I'm freaking out. I can't listen to music anymore, and I knew about the new album. Why can't you listen to music? Today we are talking about, alright, I guess I'll get to business. Today we're actually talking about AOC. Did y'all see AOC get arrested? I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the new developments of the Stephen Colbert Capitol riot, which I find it very interesting, because it really shows you that we live in a society with double standards. That's what we're doing. And then we've got some other stuff to talk about once we get through that, if we get through that. There's also some stuff that I think is very interesting happening in, of course, academia, where the soft bigotry of low expectations has taken effect. The music of today just really sucks for the most part. Good beats, maybe. So, before we get into all that, I do want to say something about that. True. I was actually kind of watching, it was after Stranger Things, and I noticed, it was hard not to notice it, but Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill was everywhere. And then, as the season developed, Metallica's Master of Puppets got shown, and Metallica came back for a while. Like, Metallica became popular again. And the one thought that I had about it was like, man, it's kind of interesting to me that you have all of this music, more music than ever before, but the kids are going back and listening to the stuff that was made in the 80s. What's that about? Is it because of the show, or is it because they're so starved for something that is actually good and like heartfelt and like talent, like this talent pours their heart and soul into this music, and you can feel it kind of whenever you hear the song, you know? I think that today's music is so overproduced and it's so cookie cutter, and this might be, I'm 38 years old. I might be entering that phase where I'm just like, oh, back in my day, the music was really good. People actually had talent then, But it's not that I don't like new music. Like, I'm obsessed with bands like The Midnight, Lord Huron. Okay, I just discovered a group called Rin through Pay Money Wubby's stream, and I'm like blown away. I love Churches. So it's not like new music is a thing that I reject now, and I only listen to old music. But I do notice when I turn on the radio nowadays, there's very few songs that I'm like, okay, I could listen to this again. Like, I end up going back to my Spotify, and I just listen to whatever is catching my attention at the moment, like actually catching my attention. I think that the kids, Gen Z, who watched Stranger Things and heard Kate Bush were so blown away that something like that, something that good actually existed. And I want y'all to remember this. It wasn't just a whole bunch of kids started listening to Kate Bush all of a sudden. That song rocketed to the top of the charts. I think it hit number 4 on the Billboard charts after 37 years. It was number 1 on Spotify for a very long time. I don't even know if it still is. Maybe, I don't know. Metallica went up there too. And it's like, I don't think that's an accident, guys. I think that there is something going on nowadays where the kids are like, man, music back then was really good. Now it's just kind of like, meh. The only song right now that is on the radio that I can even stand to listen to for more than 5 minutes is that new Harry Styles song. That's it. I don't like the guy, but he makes a good song. So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of strange. Double standards in the DOJ. Really? That happens? As it turns out, last Saturday night we watched The Last Waltz, which I highly recommend. I'll check it out. Big booty, big boom. I heard about AOC being arrested, but I haven't seen it. Okay, good. Good, because we're about to watch that, because honestly, it's the cringiest thing I've ever seen her do. She's done a lot of cringy stuff, but this is like, come on. When I hear music, I see numbers. I don't listen, by the way. Shopping really sucks. I don't get the BTS, too. I don't get that either. I've tried to listen to their music just to see where it is, but I'm not. I think, you know what I think BTS is? I think it's I think it's just a case where, this is going to sound so sexist. It's a case where a bunch of women really started to like something, and other women were influenced to like it too, just to be in on the trend. And now, like, it was just a case that caught fire, you know? But maybe there's something I'm missing out on. I don't know. The recent halftime Super Bowl show says it all. Yeah. I don't... Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I do like... I do like The Weeknd. The Weeknd's pretty good. If you actually listen to his music, he's got some solid stuff. Post Malone has some really solid stuff. I will say that too. I mean, it's not all bad. You know, it's not like absolutely horrible. There are artists out there that I think actually put some personality and like really put effort into their music. But a lot of the stuff that I noticed that is new, that is good, isn't played on the radio. You gotta dig for it. Music goes through cycles of good and bad. Kurt's right on that, actually. I mean, he's not wrong. If you go back and listen to a lot of 70s music, it is absolute garbage. It is absolutely horrible. I'm sorry to say that, but it absolutely sucks. Don't get me wrong, a lot of 70s... There was great 70s music. I'm just saying that, like, that I skip... If you look at my playlist, you'll notice a huge generational or decade gap. You know, I've got stuff from, like, the 40s and the 50s, smattering of 60s, and then the 70s is just left completely blank. And then you go into the 80s and 90s. Our music is so bad, we have to import it from Korea. The arrest was not an arrest. I watched it on live stream. It's so stupid. Yeah, we're about to get into that. BTS is a Korean boy band that has like 8 members or something like that. Yeah, it's got Sleepy, Dopey, Doc, Grumpy. Yeah, hit the like button. Thank you, Amtrue, for reminding me. Hit the like button. By the way, go to redstate.com. Everything I'm about to talk about is at redstate.com. Go to the VIP promo code Morse. Gets you a discount. Gives you access to stuff that you might not actually see on the front page. And like the stream. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell notification icon so that you know when we go live. The Midnight represent. Yes, boy. If y'all want good music, go to the Midnight. The Midnight right now is the Midnight and Lord Huron are, in my honest opinion, the 2 best bands in America right now. Like, new best bands. I listen to them pretty much non-stop. I'm pretty sure my wife's pretty annoyed by it. Then during the 80s cultural revival under Reagan, music got better. Yeah. Music clearly peaked. I think pop music at least clearly peaked with Baltimore's Tarzan Boy. It would only see a brief revival thanks to the Backstreet Boys and I Want It That Way. And then after that, pop music just kind of faded away. It's over. Pop music's done. Yeah, they package it. Yeah, they ship it off still, but it's not the best. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about this little cringe moment from AOC. We have to. 'Cause I think I saw it and I laughed for like 5 minutes straight. I laughed for 5 minutes straight. First off, can I look? Let's look at this picture just real fast because I want to break this down. Look at what she's wearing. She's got her little what's the significance of green? Have you guys noticed? Is it like the Green New Deal? It looks, every time I see that color green being worn, I just interpret it. My brain now interprets it as like, hey, I'm a communist. Can we get some socialism up ins? Cringe. AOC pretends to get arrested at the Supreme Court. She's out there for a civil disobedience rally in front of the Supreme Court. Okay. She is the socialist, right? The author of the Green New Deal. And she's wearing her little green scarf, which, you know, you gotta wear the green scarf. But then you look, and she has on expensive jacket. Look at her hair. Her hair just looks, you know, very Pantene Pro Vide. Okay, but also it looks fabulous. She's wearing expensive clothing. This hair probably cost her a good penny as well. And she is being arrested. As you can see here, this is her being multiple members. Apparently, the squad was there. The squad was there as well, and they're being arrested for their civil disobedience rally out in front of the court. Here she is being led away in handcuffs with somebody else.
She's a house member. Yeah. No, she's a member of the house.
There it is, handcuffed behind her back. You know, she's a hero of the people. The only issue, one issue. Here she is from another angle. Look at how proud she is, by the way. She's got that smile on her face. But what's this? You can now see behind her back. Do y'all see handcuffs? Do y'all see handcuffs? Because I don't. Oh, but just to make it... For those of you who missed it, the camera kind of sort of blocks it, but you can kind of see it here. She is giving the solidarity fist to reporters across the street. So she's not even handcuffed. She's pretending to be handcuffed. She's got the white power. I mean, she's got the Black Power solidarity fist up in the air, okay? Or I guess the communist fist. What do they call this fist? What do they call this fist? I've been calling it the solidarity fist, but you see it a lot at like Black Lives Matter, Black Power rallies and stuff like that. Who is she? Also, I'm confused. There's one guy filming over here. Just one guy. Who is she giving the fist to? Ring, ring, ring. There's two people, excuse me, and one reporter who doesn't have his camera pointed at her. Is this guy filming? I can't tell. Maybe he is. So she's walking, and now she puts, at the very end, she puts her hand down and puts her hands behind her back like she's being arrested. I want to remind you guys that this is the same woman who pretended to cry. Remember this. This is the same woman who went to a border facility and cried at the treatment that was being given to the poor children being separated from their parents. This is her breaking down and crying. Look at, she's so sad. She's so sad. Fake arrested. Crying at here's the issue. Dude, she cracks me up. Here's the issue. The issue is that when she was crying at an empty parking lot. There was nothing there. Right? There's nothing there. She's crying at an empty parking lot. And I think it's hilarious that they all went there in white, by the way. They all prepared for that. So we have what I can only label as the most dramatic person who is, and that's saying a lot. She's the most dramatic person in Congress right now. There's stiff competition too, because don't forget Maxine Waters is there, Nancy Pelosi is there. They turn it up to 11, all of them, but they have nothing on AOC, who pretends to be arrested at a rally in front of the Supreme Court building in an act of civil disobedience. You know what I think this actually is? She actually had somewhere else to be. She had something else on her schedule. She couldn't stay there, but she couldn't just leave because that wouldn't look as good. If she just left, it's like, oh, well, AOC doesn't have enough time for us. What's going on? She had to be escorted out by police and had to make it look like a scene. So she didn't really, like they're not going to handcuff AOC because they can't really take her to jail. So they make her pretend like she's being arrested. She didn't even keep up with the charade either. Like she did a fist. Yeah, all I can think is like she thinks that you're stupid. She thinks that you're stupid. Now, given she is surrounded by a lot of people, she has a lot of simps who prove her right all the time. That people really, really are stupid. She could literally be chopping off your arms with an axe. And if you're an AOC simp, you'll be like thanking her for it the entire time. You could be in the voting booth and she is stabbing you in the back with a very dull butcher knife, and you'll still be pulling the lever for her. Thanking her for stabbing you the entire time. That's how dedicated her simps are. But for the rest of us, dear God, what does she think that we're going to do? How that we're going to react to that? Are we inspired by this? I don't understand what her goal is. There are moments where I think that she might be far more clever than we give her credit for. There are those moments. But it's moments like this right here where I'm just like, I kind of think you're an idiot. I kind of think you're an idiot. Kurt, you like the music from the aughts? Me too. I'm a pop punk kid. Total narcissist, and there is no hope for her. Always going to be about her bottom line. Yes, that is true. Here's the thing, and we've talked about this before. The true purpose behind AOC, and I actually think we have a highlight up about it on the Red State YouTube. Go check that out after this stream. The real purpose behind AOC is not to be a congresswoman. It's to be a walking, talking PR, like vote generator. Right? She's supposed to attract Gen Z. She's supposed to attract millennials and lead them in some sort of revolution for the Democrat Party. That's her whole entire purpose. If you actually look at her congressional record, it is dog water. Okay, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. She has failed in every single bill that she's ever introduced. You know, like horribly failed. But that's not her job. I think her voting record is off. Like she's not been there to vote many times, if I'm not mistaken. She only goes there to vote when she can make a. This is what I don't know this for a fact, but from what I've heard, she goes to vote whenever her vote can make a statement. You know, so it's pretty fascinating. It's pretty fascinating. She's doing her job here. She's doing her job. This is just one of those moments where she's doing it so badly that it's going to work against her. Who in America watches this and goes, yeah, this is amazing. Oh my God, I'm so inspired. Slay, queen. Slay. She's fighting for us. She's fighting for us. No, she's not. I think she had somewhere else to go and she had to make a show to leave. She could get a Roger Stone arrest to see what arrest is really like. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She's loving the attention. She knows she is going to use this for clicks. Look, I understand, especially in the age of the internet, the worth that attention has, right? Attention typically equals money or power. Ask Mr. Beast. But like there comes a point where like attention becomes toxic for you. And you know, I that might not apply to like Jake and Logan Paul, where like negative attention just makes them more powerful, like some sort of weird backwards saying. I don't know. But when you're an elected official like AOC and you do stuff like this, you just typically, this is just embarrassing because you're no longer just dealing with internet fun. You're no longer dealing with internet creativity and activity. You're now dealing in American politics, which doesn't just involve the younger generations, which typically traffic these sites, like YouTube, TikTok, and stuff like that. You're now talking to voters which span all generations. Okay, you're now just embarrassing yourself. You might have your army of simps, sure, but your army of simps aren't going to save you when the rest of America is pretty much telling you that you're a complete embarrassment to the United States, government. This is one of those moments where this is a complete embarrassment to the United States government, to the United States people. You're an elected official, and this is what you're doing? Give me a break, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad she did it. I'm honestly glad that she did it. I want people to see how silly she is, and I hope she does more of this stuff. I get a laugh out of it. Everyone else gets a laugh out of it. We all get to point and laugh. It's all a good day. And the more her simps go after her, or go to bat for her, the worse she looks. Because her simps are some of the dumbest people I have ever seen. They will believe anything that she says. Any kind of communist propaganda, they're like into it. They're into it. You want proof? Okay, so I don't know if they still do it, but the U.S. military had a Twitch channel where they played random video games. It was there to kind of, it was actually more like a recruitment tool that they were using it for. But after AOC had like gone after the army for one reason or another, I think it had something to do with the LGBT community. Her simps, her army of simps, her mob went after that channel. They cannot broadcast without like a bunch of people jumping into the chat from her camp and just insulting our military, insulting the person playing at the moment, like just dogging the United States of America. And some of the stuff that they say there is just so mind-numbingly stupid. Their power though is in their they travel in packs, strength in numbers, 8 strong together. Fist of the Revolution. Is that what this is? The fist of the Revolution? The left-hard fist. When Josh Hawley did that, they called him a Nazi. They hate Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley is one of those people that exists in Congress to be a lightning rod for leftist hate. There are very few people like that. Even many Republicans nowadays, they have to work at being like hated. They have to get that attention. Josh Hawley is one of those people who just sits there and he could just like sneeze and they'd be like, racist! It's because he's a dedicated Christian. And that's he's unabashed about it. And you'll notice that's a pattern in our society. Like Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt's probably one of the best actors. Have y'all seen The Terminal List? Oh my God. I did not think he had that in him to have that good of those good acting chops. Right? But because of some mind-numbingly stupid reason, he's a Christian and a proud Christian in Hollywood. They consistently try to make him seem like he's like the worst actor in history, that he's actually kind of evil, that, he's the worst Chris, all this stuff. Like, consistently comes up and is attacked by the mobs on Twitter. But my God, he's such a great guy. He's a super great actor. Even like the hard leftists in Hollywood will come up and defend him. That's how good of a person he actually is. Who else? Mike Pence is another one. Mike Pence, like Donald Trump was definitely more hated than Mike Pence, but Mike Pence didn't really have to say or do anything. Like everyone was reacting to Trump, but literally Mike Pence could just say nothing and people would go after him. He would just do nothing. I've never seen people get so mad. It's because he's just like a really solid Christian and he's proud of it. I've never seen vitriol. Like, y'all remember the Olympics where, oh God, what was his name? I can't even remember his name now. Like these two guys, like Ken Ken something, whatever. These two guys went to the Olympics, and they were both gay. And Mike Pence didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. But they made a Twitter or an Instagram post about how, like, they're gay and they're there, suck it, Mike Pence, or something like that. Mike Pence was like, I have no problem with you guys being there. Go Team USA. They wanted so badly for him to get mad about it, and he just didn't. Ayo cringe. Dude. Bro, that's so good. Ayo cringe. Just tweeted at AOC. Tweet at her enough and they'll find you. By the way, the mob will come after you. She's all about putting on a show. That's her job, though. Her job is to put on a show. And the enemy for the best congresswoman is. There was a table set up to process those who were arrested right there. All is set up from the start. There's no possible way that wasn't pre-planned. Because guaranteed AOC was probably like, look, I've got a meeting or like some sort of, I don't know, thing on my schedule, like a fundraising. I don't know. And I have it. It's at noon. So at 11:30, have a Capitol Police officer come to me and pretend to arrest me so I can leave. I wonder if I should be embarrassed by the fact that I got the backwards Saiyan reference. You shouldn't be embarrassed about that. Not this stream. Josh Hawley represent. That's what's up. Awesome show makes up for Tomorrow War. Yeah, Tomorrow War was a little. It's great if you turned your brain off, you know, but it was still a little bad. Thomas Massey, Lauren Boebert, MTG, Rand Paul, Kennedy. He is funny. Dude, I love anytime Kennedy has a hearing clip, I'm all over it. Gates, Hawley, yeah, Blackburn. I would say that Boebert is definitely one, but Boebert is someone who everything she says is more or less geared to make the left mad. I would say the same with MTG. Rand Paul is one of those people who's just being himself. He's not trying to get you mad or the left mad, but despite the fact that he's not trying to get the left mad, all he has to do is just do what he does. You know, he's a libertarian, and he says something libertarian, and he goes for the truth, and it pisses people off to the point where they, honest to God, in the open, wish the man had violence done upon him. Hawkeye makes Missouri proud. I would know. Good. I like Josh Hawley. I read his book, actually. Capitol Police released damning facts. Slam DOJ decision not to charge the Colbert 9. So, I don't know if y'all have been following this. This is one of those stories that is a perfect example. An absolute perfect example of how we have a double standard in our justice system. If you are a part of the leftist elite, you are nigh untouchable. You can do whatever you want. All right. If you are a member of the peasantry, or worse yet, a member of the right, you boned. You boned, son. Doesn't matter what you do, you either will suffer in the court of public opinion, or if they can manage it, they will have endless amounts of hearings about you and how you caused one of the worst events in all of human history. Certainly one of the worst events in all American history, despite the fact that you weren't actually involved in it and actually tried to stop people from doing it. And you know, the more we learn about it, the shadier it becomes. But not that it matters, because no one's paying attention to it anyway. Colbert, for those of you who don't know, he had a team that was out there during that whole big Trump rally on Election Day. And as it turned out, they had their own little Capitol riot. His team did. Despite the fact that they were doing things probably even worse than what many of the actual rioters were doing, Colbert and his team, or I should just say his team, have suffered no consequences. And as it turns out, they won't suffer any consequences. Let's go ahead and read this. This is from Banshee, by the way. Go to redstate.com. if you want to follow along. In one of the most expected, predictable moves imaginable, the Department of Justice announced on Monday that it would not charge the so-called Colbert 9 after they illegally entered the U.S. Capitol building last June. 9 members of the far-left TV host Stephen Colbert's production team were arrested on June 16th after refusing to leave the premises. They had previously been told that they must have an escort and that their entry wasn't permitted. In its decision to not prosecute, the DOJ presented the situation as one big misunderstanding, noting that the Colbert team members have been invited by congressional members, including Rep. Adam Schiff. So this is the statement here. Let's go ahead and read this. The USCP's unlawful entry arrest on June 16th, 2022. The United States Capitol Police, USCP, has been working with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia on the June 16, 2022 unlawful entry case that involved a group of 9 people associated with The Late Show. The USCP arrested 9 people for unlawful entry charges because members of the group had been told several times before they entered the congressional building that they had to remain with a staff escort inside the buildings, and they failed to do so. The United States Capitol Police was just informed the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia is declining to prosecute the case. We respect the decision the office has made. Any questions about the decision should be referred to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. Thank you for reaching out to the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding arrests made at the Longworth office building on June 16. Here is a statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. After a comprehensive review of all the evidence and the relevant legal authority, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia has determined that it cannot move forward with misdemeanor charges of unlawful entry against the 9 individuals who were arrested on June 16, 2022 at the Longworth office building. The individuals who entered the building on 2 separate occasions were invited by congressional staffers to enter the building in each instance and were never asked to leave by the staffers who invited them, though members of the group have been told at various points by the U.S. Capitol Police that they were supposed to have an escort. The office would be required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these invited guests were guilty of the crime of unlawful entry because their escort chose to leave them unattended. We do not believe it is probable that the office would be able to obtain and sustain convictions on these charges. The defendants no longer will be required to appear for a scheduled hearing in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia on July 20th, 2022. So, I don't know if you're already seeing a weirdness about this. Here's 2 things that we need to remember. All right. They were told to have an escort twice. They violated this twice. This is while it was being violated in another part of the U.S. Capitol as well. All right. They say that they were invited into the building by Rep. Adam Schiff. Okay. AOC, which means that they were allowed, they had invitations to be there. AOC and certain Capitol Police are seen on video, both of them. Capitol Police are escorting people into the building during the riot. AOC confirmed this as well. Meaning, does that mean that they had an invitation as well? These people? Many of these people? Now, many of these people stole things and vandalized stuff. Fair, prosecute them for that. But if they're being invited into the Capitol just like the other people were, does this make this still a riot? I feel like if we have one rule being applied to one group and not the same rule being applied to another, I don't. Maybe I'm not a legal expert. Maybe I'm wrong here. It just seems a little strange. What the DOJ didn't do is whitewash what the DOJ didn't do. I speak English good. Didn't do in its whitewash was provide all the damning information that should have led to charges being filed. Now the USCP is doing it for them, responding to an inquiry by laying out the timeline and painting a far different picture. This is from Julie Kelly. No one is more critical of Capitol Police than I am, so this is a stunningly honest account of Colbert's unpunished insurrection. Contrary to the previous reports, they unlawfully entered 3 Capitol buildings, harassed, threatened GOP lawmakers, and defied Capitol Police while terrifying one House Dems staffer. Matthew Graves declined to prosecute these Democrat Party activists disguised as Colbert's crew. So here's United States Capitol Police. This is a report. Dear Ranking Member Davis and Ranking Member Jordan, in response to your letter dated June 20th, 2022 regarding the Colbert 9 matter, we provide the following. On June 16, 2022 at approximately 8:26 p.m., the United States Capitol Police Communications Center received a call from blank, a staffer from Rep. Jamal Bowman, working in room 1605 of the Longworth House building. He advised he could hear a man shouting outside his office, which is next to Rep. Lauren Boebert's office. Interesting. Redacted stated he heard a man banging on Rep. Boebert's office saying, "Do you remember me? Do you remember me? It's me. We're going to leave something under your door." Redacted stated he was very concerned, locked his office door for safety, and called the USCP emergency number. The USCP Communications dispatched units to room 1609 to investigate the call. House Division Officer Redacted was the first officer on the scene and observed a group of 7 individuals, 5 males, 2 females, outside room 1609. Defendant Plunkett, the leader of the group, initially told the officer they were credentialed staff and that they were contractors for the CBS television network. Additional officers and officials responded and determined no one in the group had staff present and congressional press identification IDs, which are required to be in the building. So they weren't actually, they didn't have the proper documents to be there. And they were banging on the door of Lauren Boebert in order to leave her a gift. Interesting. 2 additional individuals without congressional IDs responded to 1609 approximately 20 minutes later and disclosed they had been wandering around the Ryburn House office building before being summoned by others and rejoining them. Unit 212 officer responded to the scene to provide assistance and immediately recognized all 9 individuals as the same group he had stopped and identified earlier in the day. Officer Redacted stated he was patrolling outside the Cannon House office building, room 390, the hearing room for the January 6th investigation, and noticed the same group in the hallway trying to stop members to conduct interviews. Officer Redacted determined the group did not have press credentials and was not being escorted by staff as required. Officer Redacted stated he advised the group of the building regulations for entry, including that the group could not be inside congressional buildings without staff escort, and escorted the group out of the northwest door of the CHOB at approximately 2:30 p.m., which is confirmed by camera footage from USCP cameras. When stopped in the LHOB later that night, Officer Redacted interviewed the group leader, Defendant Plunkett, who disclosed the group's intention was to film comic skits with a puppet, Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, outside the offices of Rep. Kevin McCarthy, Rep. Jim Jordan, Rep. Lauren Boebert, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Plunkett stated that they worked for The Late Show with Steve Colbert on CBS. Officer Redacted did not witness the team filming at the time he responded, but noted the group had multiple backpacks and folded up signs with them when he made initial contact. Defendant Smigel. Smigel? Is it Smigel? Please don't tell me it's Smigel. Precious. Stated that the group was pretending to leave notes under the members' doors as part of the skits, but did not actually leave anything. The note was allegedly an invitation to a cocaine orgy. This is USCP footage of the group outside Rep. MTG's office. Officer Redacted discovered the group had been escorted into the LHOB main entrance by a staffer named Redacted from Rep. Jake Auchincloss? I'm not even going to try. Office earlier in the day and were improperly allowed to remain in the building after the staffer had left them. Officer Redacted told Redacted that this was the same group he found at the CHOB Rotunda at approximately 2:30 p.m. and escorted out of the building for violating the the building's rules. So they were escorted out, and then they came right back in without the proper credentials. Officer Blank determined the group had violated the building regulations a second time and took them into custody for unlawful entry. So they had already been in the building when they shouldn't have been. They were escorted out. They came back in without the proper documentation. Again, they were caught again. They were this time arrested. USCP Intelligence Division agents redacted responded to the scene and interviewed all 9 suspects. 7 gave statements while 2 invoked their Miranda rights. Interesting. After the individuals were taken into custody, USCP officers responded to all offices that were visited by the group to inspect the exterior areas for signs of vandalism. No unusual activity was observed, and officers did not enter into any offices. Lieutenant Redacted knocked on the office of Rep. Bobert and was greeted by architect of the Capitol employee Redacted, who was cleaning the suite. Lieutenant Redacted asked Redacted if he found anything unusual on the carpet near the door, and Redacted stated he had not. The time of the arrest was 10:19 p.m., and the following people were arrested. And then he just gives you a list of those who were arrested. 2 members of the group defendants, Dean and Ramond, were providing unarmed security for the group, while the remaining 7 were associated with The Late Show. Subsequent investigations revealed the following additional facts. The group did not have any scheduled appointment on June 16th, but on the 15th, they had appointments and had been inside congressional buildings. Interesting, so they were there on the wrong day. They weren't supposed to be there at all. They didn't even have an appointment at all that day. According to Defendant Martinez, the group had a staff escort with them at all times on the 15th. She also stated that when the group entered the building on the 16th, they were informed by USCP officers that they needed to stay with their staff escort at all times. According to redacted Chief of Staff for Rep. Ted Liu, that you want to talk about an embarrassing Congress. That dude's weird. There's just something weird about Liu. Defendant Plunkett arranged to perform and film a skit outside of Liu's office on the 16th, and the group did so at approximately 5 p.m. They did not meet with the representative, and the skit filming was arranged that day, not in advance. Finally, Redacted, the longtime head of the House Radio TV Gallery, was interviewed. She stated that the head of the group, Defendant Plunkett, had phoned her office before June 16th and had spoken to her staff about getting a press credential to come into the building and film. Her office is familiar with the group since they have provided them with credentials before as part of the DNC and RNC conventions where the rules are less strict for credentialing. And they had been sponsored by CBS for those events. Defendant Plunkett was told that the gallery would not provide the group credentials since they were not press, and, as they had been told previously, they were not allowed in the congressional building as press. Interesting. So they're not even allowed in the building. They're not press, they're comedians. It's a skit show. So they're not even allowed. In addition, Mr. Plunkett was also told his group could not come into the building without an escort, nor be in the building without an escort, which they were in the building without an escort. Twice. The USCP's entire package of information related to these events, including all department paperwork, defendant statements, all relevant camera footage, and all the information noted above, was provided to the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. We have included that information for you as well in this letter. It is unfortunate that despite all of the evidence the department presented, including that group or its leader, had been told several times that they could not be in the building without an escort, that the U.S. Attorney's Office declined to prosecute any members of the group for unlawful entry. My word, guys, it seems to me that there is a double-sided justice system that we've got here. Apparently, a whole bunch of people can come into the Capitol, and despite the fact that they're there and not supposed to be there, they are going to be charged if their identities are revealed. There are still people being held in prison for this. Despite, they didn't really tear anything up. They didn't vandalize it in any way. But they're still being held in prison. Yet, Colbert's people, CBS's people, and not even as press, just as a skit show looking to stir up some trouble for laughs, they can go in without escorts, be escorted out twice, and not be prosecuted. Strange, right? Strange. Interesting. It really makes you stop and think, man, what is the point of the Jan 6 hearings then? Because I thought that this was supposed to get to the bottom of one of the worst events that ever happened in the history of the DC, in the history of America. It was egregious what happened. A terrorism that happened. It was a terrorism. All led by Donald Trump. Okay, so apparently that rioting is bad. That riot is bad. But if there are people who are actually doing the same exact thing, who have been escorted out before, were told the rules, and came back in anyway, and were arrested, they're fine. No, that's fine. We don't worry about them. They can do illegal stuff, and it won't matter. Isn't that interesting? The constant pattern that we see from Democrats when it comes to being places, trespassing, being places that you're not supposed to. You know? It's interesting that Black Lives Matter can riot all day, destroy buildings. Antifa can literally assault people. They can lay siege to a courthouse or a government building. And it's not that big of a deal. There must be unrest in the streets so long as there's unrest in our lives, says Ayanna Presley. That's great. That's good stuff. Rioting for leftist causes, great stuff. If it looks even a little bit like you're rioting for a different cause than what they approve of, it's your ass. You're done, son. They will put you in jail and throw away the key. Seems we have a very unfair justice system. A very picky and choosy justice system. If you read the entire statement, it's abundantly clear that this was not just a misunderstanding brought about by a group of people who weren't aware of the rules. They were informed multiple times over multiple days via multiple incidents that they could not be in any of the Capitol buildings without a credentialed escort. Earlier, on June 16th, they had been escorted out of the Capitol Rotunda and told these rules. Their intent to ignore the law in order to harass GOP members isn't in doubt, and that's also a very good point. They were going there not to interview people. They were going there to harass people who were not agreeing to any kind of interview or, skit. Nothing. That was their intent. They were actually intent on going there to harass members of Congress. Many of the Jan 6 rioters were there just to do it for the gram. Makes you think. It's also untrue that they were invited into the building on June 16th, which is the primary excuse given by the DOJ for not pressing charges. Their scheduled meetings were on the June 15th. Further, contrary to the idea of them being unwitting, the group was specifically denied the credentials they requested for that next day and chose to illegally enter anyway. Ironically, it was a Democrat staffer who called the police on Colbert's team because he was terrified by all the screaming and yelling going on. The idea that there wasn't enough evidence for the DOJ to at least charge them with misdemeanors is farcical. Solid use of the word farcical, Bonchi. If this were a group of Republicans illegally entering the Capitol building multiple times to harass Democrat congressional members, they'd still be in solitary confinement right now. Everyone knows it because everyone knows our justice system is a two-tiered joke. Being of the left of Washington, D.C. is essentially a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's true. Lastly, doesn't it feel like the USCP is realizing it's been played by the Democrats over the last year and a half for political gain? Capitol Police have gone from being hailed as heroes of January 6th to having Democrat members openly defy them and accuse them of insurrection. The tone of that letter detailing the Colbert 9 incident is certainly forceful and very interesting. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff, man. We don't have to play the whole, well, what if it was a Republican game? Because we know what would happen If the person, it doesn't even have to be a Republican, but just associated with a Republican event, we know what happens. They put you in jail and they throw away the key. They confine you indefinitely. Yet, if you're a leftist and you work for a leftist elites, you're fine. Nothing's going to happen to you at all. You're good. Two-tier justice system. There was a interesting thing that happened. This kind of leads me to this. The government is so ready to find you guilty of something outside of their leftist elitist bubble that even if you buy 2 guns at the same time, apparently now the ATF will show up at your door. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is very recent. ATF conducts surprise firearm inspection at gun owner's home without a search warrant. This is up at redstate.com right now. I suggest you go and read it. It's from Jim Thompson. You can't even practice your legal right now without getting questioned by police. But if you belong to the leftist elite, if you are a part of that group, you can literally break into the Capitol twice when you're not supposed to be there and harass members of Congress, and nothing will happen to you. We got some cleaning up to do in Congress, folks. We got some cleaning up to do. This is corruption. Bold-faced corruption. No charges, I'm shocked. Oh, did it freeze? Not on your end? Okay, good. Maybe it was just your internet. Stalkers are getting creative these days. Is that what it takes? No, you know what I'm going to do? No, never mind. I'm not going to say it. If ever I do anything wrong, if I get pulled over by the police or something like that, I'm just going to be like, oh, no, I'm part of Colbert's crew. I work for CBS. It's fine. It's my get out of jail free card. Sir, you were going 95 in a 55 mile an hour zone. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I work for CBS. This is for a skit. Oh, my apologies, sir. Go right ahead. If that... I think more people need to call Colbert out on this. And I mean, like, really call him out on this. Highlight just how elitist he is to the rest of the world. You can't get away with this, but he can. This man who makes millions of dollars a year and tells you that you need to make sacrifices in order to... have a good conscience about the war in Ukraine, you know, whenever we're sending billions of dollars over there. This is the same Colbert who's telling everybody that it's good to be paying extra right now because it's worth a clear conscience. Man, screw that. You don't have to worry about it, Colbert. You're a millionaire. When was the last time you actually stopped at a gas station to fill up your car? I mean, he drives a Tesla. That's what he said, so he doesn't have to. But surely, whenever he's being escorted around as CBS's late night show superstar, you know, I'm willing to bet that there is some gas involved. Because, I mean, SUVs and stuff like that. He's probably black SUVs that he's being escorted around in. Does he have to get out and pay for that gas? I bet not. Even if he did have to stop and fill up on gas, he wouldn't see the money leave his account. What a shocker. Rules for thee and not for me. 100%. I love telling scammers my name is Pierogi. They flip out every time. Must be nice knowing you are going to be arrested and nothing will happen to you because you are terrorizing the other party. I'm pretty sure that was one of the reasons that they got off. I'm sure that, like, oh, did you bother Republicans? Good job. Go ahead. Go. Get out. Out the back door. You're good. We can confirm that Bobert got the love letter. And I don't get the joke. Is there something that I'm missing here about a cocaine orgy? Is that like a rumor going around about Bobert or something? That she was part of a cocaine orgy? You'd figure Democrats would be like, hey, Bobert's actually kind of cool. I'm saying, Amtrue, that I should also get mod status since we've been here since the beginning of this channel. Maybe one day. I have to clear that. I say we dissolve all DC courts. Due to me breaking the law, I used to have to turn myself into jail to serve my time on the weekends. I would love to see these people take responsibility for their actions. They won't. They don't have to take responsibility for their actions. They don't have to. They get away with everything. Clearly, they can break into the freaking Capitol. Days after what many leftists were referring to as one of the worst events in American history, they can break into the Capitol twice and not get punished for it. While all these leftists are going, oh my God, I can't believe what happened. I need therapy. AOC's out here. They're trying to kill me. Ted Cruz is trying to kill me. She actually said that. Amidst all this, they thought it was so horrible. Yet, right in the middle of them, clearly stating that it was one of the worst events. Here's the Colbert's people doing the exact same thing, probably but worse. Twice. There's no real... Here's the God's honest truth, you guys. If there is a two-tier justice system, then there's no real justice system. Okay? If there is a group of people who can do exactly what you did, but they don't get in trouble and you do, then there is no justice system. Okay? At that point in time, what it is a tool to keep you down and suppressed versus the other group, which gets to do whatever they want. They actually have true freedom. You have nothing. You live at the mercy of the government. Okay? The fact that you've got ATF agents showing up at people's houses who didn't break the law just because they bought a couple of guns should scare you. And it proves, despite the fact that you're doing nothing wrong, the fact that you are buying guns alone has them show up at your door should scare you. Do you think that they're showing up at the doors of people, and leftist elites, the leftist elites and stuff like that, if ever they purchase fire? No, they're not going to show up there. They are the rulers of America. They like to claim that they're the party of the people, but they're clearly not the party of the people. They live by a double standard. They don't have to follow the rules that are enforced on you. They can get away with anything. You know how I know they can get away with anything? Hillary Clinton's a really great example of how you can get away with anything. You can literally put state secrets in the open in an easily hacked computer and nothing will happen to you. Reveal those state secrets, though, and you have to go into hiding. Edward Snowden isn't Hillary Clinton. All the people at WikiLeaks aren't Hillary Clinton, so, they have to go into hiding. They can't live normal lives. Nancy Pelosi, her husband, can play in the stock market while they're passing laws and make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Pure corruption, clear corruption. No one's going to investigate them. No one's going to see if they broke any law. They can get away with whatever. If they don't have any justice system that can take them down, and it's all the guns are pointed at you, then it's not really a justice system, it's a form of control. This is a perfect example of how much cleaning up we have to do as a society if we're to actually get back to an America that exists as it says it exists. And that's something to walk away from this stream with. You live in a country that does not respect you. You live in a country that has a DOJ that will prosecute you, but not them, for the exact same crime. Vote accordingly. Vote accordingly. Because we are now seeing what happens whenever you vote in people who have no respect for the people. We're now seeing a DOJ being controlled by by a very corrupt system led by very corrupt people who think themselves better than you, and they are making themselves better than you. With every little situation like this. This is a much bigger deal than maybe some people understand it is. Because it is a blatant confirmation that you live in a country that does not have a DOJ system that is worth like a... It's worthless. It's absolutely worthless. It has a double standard. It is proof that there is a ruling class and a peasantry. And we are the peasantry. That's just the way it is, guys. Who on the left will call him out? Nobody. Nobody's going to call him out. Why would they? Why would they call him out? They love this stuff. They think it's great. It's confirmation that they're on the right side. If they have the power, why do they need to actually obey any laws? If they can get away with doing whatever, why should they care? No one's going to call him out for it. Snowflakes is one of my favorites. Dark Blair White is even in the video. I love Blair. Blair's awesome. I don't know about an orgy. I was just making jokes about his crew being stalkers. Break in twice during the January 6th show hearing. I would not answer the door and call a lawyer. That's actually probably the best way to do it. Without a warrant, if they show up at your door and there's no warrant with them, sorry guys, bye. Don't normalize that. Don't allow that to get normalized. The ATF showing at your door without a warrant. Don't normalize it. Ignore them. Get them to go away. We're not responding. Who is John Galt? Mini Raptor. I would also get my firearm sold since they want to inspect it so bad. I wouldn't take it that far, but I would not be friendly, even if they were friendly. Like, don't show up to my... ATF does not show up to my door, and they don't... Unless they're dropping off a case of beer or like a bottle of whiskey or something, I don't know. They're not going to get a friendly reception. I would also get my fire... I already read that. Like Mr. Brain did. Did y'all see the Biden Falls thing? Or the Brandon Falls. The Brandon Falls. That's what I'm saying. At least under this administration it is. That's what I'm saying. Vote accordingly. Well, believe it or not, there are more of us than them in reality. They will only have more power for so long. Wish they would realize that power is fleeting. Nothing lasts forever, especially everything changes. This is actually true. And that leads me to my final story of the day. Good advice. No warrant. Don't open the door. Yeah. Ignore them. Ignore them. They ain't got nothing on you. Talking about Tom McDonald music video. You'd probably like his Snowflake Brandon. Clown World is good too. He has. I'll check it out. Do you have a warrant? No. Then hippity hoppity off of my property. Last one. The Democrats' base is fleeing at an alarming rate. This is from Joe Cunningham, who might be one of my favorite writers at the site. There is a string of different data points from various sources that should fully explain why, barring a miracle, the Democrats have well and truly screwed the pooch for this campaign cycle. Each one of these data points comes from sources that aren't exactly friendly to Republicans. Making the data all the more damning. From a CNN SSRS poll released Monday, when asked if Joe Biden has had the right policies priorities during his term, only 29% of white voters thought so, with 71% saying he's ignored the most important issues. What's worse? Only 35% of voters of color think he's had the right priorities. Only 35. The party of the minorities are not. Wow. With 64% saying he's been off the mark. Uh-oh. The Democrats typically rely on the minority vote. Are we about to see one of the largest shifts from minority groups to Republicans that we have ever seen? Probably not since the Civil War era. Maybe. In Florida, even a poll commissioned by one of the top teachers' unions in the country shows Ron DeSantis is popular among his constituents, forcing the unions to tell teachers to change their talking points. The day before his speech, one of the national teacher unions that opposes him released a battleground state survey showing voters approve of DeSantis' education policy positions and even some of his rhetoric. The American Federation of Teachers circulated the poll conducted by the Democratic firm Hart Research as a call to arms for its members and allies to emphasize more popular proposals like spending more on schools and reducing class sizes, and de-emphasizing fights that center on cultural issues. Is woke culture not helping them? It's like a political version of get woke, go broke. Jeez. Who'd have thunk that Americans just weren't into the social issues that these leftists want to push on people? We've only been telling them over and over and over again, and it should have been very apparent whenever these school board members were being voted out left and right because of their hard leftism. Even in places like San Francisco, the bluest of the blue, a place so blue it looks like a choking Smurf. One poll question found that voters, by a 32% point margin, said they were more likely to vote for candidates who believe public schools should focus less on teaching race and more on core subjects. Oh, they want their kids to learn how to read and write, how to do math. Not how white people are racist. Gee. Not to be taught, not to teach them that being like that they're actually transgender because they sneezed. By 27 points, they said schools should be banned from teaching sexual orientation and gender identity to kids in kindergarten through the third grade. By 28 points, they said transgender athletes should be banned from competing in girls' sports. Interesting. In Georgia, there appears to be new polling coming out soon that will show Brian Kemp enjoying surprising results among even minority voting populations in the state. Big breaking news in Georgia. Kemp is crushing Abrams in the Hispanic and Asian American communities, both of which suffered the most economic harm after Abrams pressured MLB to move the All-Star game from Georgia. Also, 25% of black men under 35 are voting Kemp. Wow. Kemp winning college-age educated voters. It's white women, white men. White women is a big one. Asian women, Hispanic women, Asian men, Hispanic men. He's losing black voters, but 25% of black men under 35 are with him. Incredible. It goes to show you that even among these groups, I mean, they're not as left as the left thinks that they want to be. That America is still a center-right country. It is. And the left has moved so far to the left that they're becoming too left for even the left. I can remember back when Donald Trump won, and I thought it was the silliest thing I'd ever heard. When Donald Trump won, Elizabeth Warren was out in front of cameras saying that the reason that the left lost, that Democrats lost, that Hillary Clinton lost, was because they weren't going left enough. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, keep going with that. Keep up with that thought process. Get more left. And sure enough, they did. And now look what's happening. It is the political version of get woke, go broke. This is incredible. As I mentioned on Monday, we know Hispanic voters and working class voters are at odds with the social issues Democrats seem to want to focus on over the economic problems plaguing the nation. Hispanic voters and working class voters are increasingly at odds with strong progressive Democrats, and the latter's push for social change is also pushing Hispanic voters at a much higher rate than they did working class voters ahead of 2016. In the year Trump was elected, union households were split on who to vote for, which helped hand blue-collar states to Trump and break the Democrats' hold over the Rust Belt. But now you have Hispanic voters who not only are disapproving of President Joe Biden and his agenda, but are actively siding with Republicans on key issues. Working class voters had long been the backbone of the Democrats in those Rust Belt states, and Hispanic voters keyed to Democrats in the southern states like Texas, Florida, and elsewhere. But Hispanic voters of all origins started breaking for Republicans and Trump in particular. In the last few election cycles, working class voters grew upset with the Obama administration attacking factory and mining jobs and flipped to Trump. So Trump back then had actually advocated himself as a candidate for the working man, which is a very, very smart thing that Democrats had done for a very long time. However, with Obama, they started switching to social issues. You'll notice that they have more or less, the Democrats more or less have abandoned the working man, the middle class working. They've abandoned him in order to embrace LGBT issues, Black Lives Matter, these pushing all of these issues and stuff with CRT on schools, the military, corporations are now having to embrace it. And the working man got shafted. He got thrown aside, which is what happens whenever you are it was decades ago that the working class man was the central focus of the Democrat Party. But like every single group that becomes a sacred cow for the Democrat Party, you are going to be tossed aside as soon as they find a different toy. That's just the way it is. The Democrats have no loyalty. What they have a loyalty to is power. And if you are the best avenue toward that power, then they are going to utilize you in some way, shape, or form. They're gonna wine and dine you. They're gonna make you think that you're just the center of the world, that you're the most important person that ever existed. But the moment that you wear out your welcome, the moment you become less useful, you're done, son. You're gone. Bye. So Democrat, they abandoned the working man, and when they leave it, and Trump pulled up quick to retrieve it. He got elected. And right now you're seeing this exact same thing happen, but on steroids. The Democrat Party has abandoned the working man so that they have to pay homage and obey everything that the LGBT community says that they should. Did the Black Lives Matter riot burn down your building, destroy, your shop? That's reparations. That's just a sacrifice that had to be made on the altar of equity. They don't care about you. When you add all this together, it paints a horrible picture for Democrats. They are losing key demographic groups that have been a major part of their strategy for decades. Democrats have long believed that demography is destiny. Demography? But if they just build a multicultural coalition utilizing shifting demographics in the country, they'd obtain a permanent political majority. But there's a problem. Democrats then switch to all identity politics and extreme takes on social issues that end up pushing many of those demographic groups away because their inclusivity drive has been exclusive. Because only a certain group of people, or two groups of people, even, I would say that the black community and the LGBT community are the two sole focuses of the Democrat Party now. And despite the fact that they talk about inclusivity a lot, if you do not belong to these groups, chances are you're not going to actually have much attention paid to you. Democrats have long believed... Oh, I already read that. And all the while, they have whistled past this particular graveyard. Donald Trump, vilified as the most racist and corrupt president of all time, nonetheless picked up increasing Hispanic and even black voter support. Republicans in states like Texas and Florida, which have a very large number of Hispanic voters, are getting larger and larger shares of those votes. There is increasing dissatisfaction with Biden among black voters. The working class are losing their faith in Democrat politicians in swing states. The base they were so reliant on is disappearing ahead of the November midterms. Demography is not, in fact, destiny. As it turns out, you have to actually work to keep those votes. And to do that, you need to know what it is they actually want from their politicians. So, Democrats fooled themselves in their own little bubble into thinking that if they just kissed their ass, the black community, the Hispanic community, that they would just get their vote. It's really racist when you think about it, because they effectively thought that they just owned these minority groups, that they would just vote for Democrats by default. Interesting, don't you think, that they didn't pay attention to them? In fact, they went on to abuse them and take advantage of them, to take them for granted. Whereas Trump was saying, hey guys, vote for me, and I promise you, you will see economic elevation in your communities. And he was right. He absolutely did more to help the black community than the Democrats have done in decades. There were more jobs to go around. They were bringing themselves out of poverty, finding success. And the entire time, the Democrat Party, the only thing that they could offer the black community was, hey, everyone else is racist against you, but we're not. Vote for us. Hey, we've got this idea that we're going to paint you as victims, and society is just going to give you things because of your victimhood. We've got this whole entire thing, the 1619 Project, critical race theory. We're going to start shoving this on everybody, and you're just going to be victims. That's your role in our society now. You are a victim. That's what the Democrat Party said, whereas the Republican Party said, no, you guys are humans. And we're going to give you the opportunities to work and make money and make something of yourselves instead of just living off the table scraps that our society decides to throw you because you're victims. You're not going to be, we're just going to have people give you things. The black community is full of people who, interesting enough, want to be treated like people. Ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? The Democrat Party has nothing. So we might live in a two-tier justice system, but it seems to me, after what I just read, that two-tier justice system has its days very well numbered. Can't wait to see that day, man. This November is going to be fire, and I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to 2024. Because I don't see how the Democrat Party turns this around in 2 years. I really don't. They are on a railroad. They're on a train that is going top speed that they can't slow down now. Guys, that's it for me. Thank y'all so much for hanging out. Go to redstate.com. Join up for the with the VIP program. Use promo code Morse MRSE on sign up. Get you a discount. You get stuff that you won't see on the front page. Follow me on Twitter at @TheBrandonMorse. I've got furniture coming. Soon, so I gotta hop off. Guys, much love. Seriously, I will see you guys. Oh, wait, before you go. Not gonna be in the studio on Friday. On Friday, I will be at the TPUSA event in Tampa, the Student Action Summit. So I'll be coming to you live from there. Be sure to tune in and check it out. We're gonna have a really good time. Gonna get a lot of really great interviews and stuff. So I will see you in Tampa. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week. It's hump day, my dudes. Make the most of it. Peace.